The champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show. And we're Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom. And we're covering it all, laughing at it all, while providing a platform to be heard. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this. Been long overdue, so super excited to bring this go. So you know what we do? We got to welcome our guest. All right, so our guest is a finance expert. All right, who is here to advocate. All right, for financial literacy. Now you may have seen her here, you may have seen her there, but the top spot she's been at is on Forbes. You've seen her on Yahoo Finance, and she's been in Sports Illustrated, just to name a few. All right. Now she's also an author, so we'll definitely get into a little bit of that later on in the show, but she is one of the top 50 financial speakers. All right, that girl good. And she is a corporate money coach, all right? So that's what we're here to talk about today. And she's worked with hockey, she's worked with the NBA, the NFL, and with NIL around, she's definitely showing them young kids how to protect that bag. So without further ado, please welcome owner and president of Financial Footwork. Let's clap it up for Hillary Seiler. Clap it up. That girl good.
Thank
right,
you.
Hey, and we're going to call you Coach Hill because that's what the family calls you. All
Absolutely.
right. And so, Coach Hill, I want to start the show with a shoot your shot moment. All right. So this is where we ask all of our guests for a shoot your shot moment. All right. And we know, because we have the great guests on that, everybody shoots their shot all the time, but we want something specific, right? When you went for it all, or just like a little momentum, or just something where you shot your shot and learned a lesson.
Ooh, yeah. Roll it back to 2018. I got a call from a guy named Caleb Thornhill, and he said, come down to Miami. I want to interview you for this retired athlete thing. And
Nice.
He said, but you got to get yourself down here. You got to pay. It's like, get yourself down here, and then you're going to work for 5 days, but you're not going to get paid. I said, okay. So I shot my shot, and I went down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it was early 2018. I was working with a couple retired Miami Dolphins players, and he gave me an opportunity to come in and kind of like show the world what financial literacy is from a non-Dave Ramsey approach. And that was more of like a sports approach, which is what I do. And he gave me the opportunity. 5 days later, I'll never forget it. He called me right after I left as I was walking into the airport, and he said, I want to hire you for the Miami Dolphins. I was like, what? I didn't even know you worked for the Miami Dolphins, because at the time I did not realize he worked for the Miami Dolphins. I thought he worked for the Athlete Transitions University. And so I was like, oh, bet. Okay. I'm in. What do you want me to do? He's like, I want you to build me a program. And sure enough, I spent a couple grand to get myself where I needed to be and built something for him. And it paid off leaps and bounds. And here we are, fast forward, and 10 NFL teams deep. And it's crazy.
Let's go.
Big time. Shout out to Dave Ramsey. That's funny.
I'm a little different. Can you tell?
Just a little. So where did your love for sports start, Coach?
As a kid, I grew up in a neighborhood of all dudes. So it was me and then all the guys in the neighborhood. I think I was like one of two girls in the whole neighborhood. And the guys always played soccer and football. And my mom made me dance. And I really liked it when I was little, and I hated it when I got into like middle school and high school, but I was really good at it. So she's like, this is going to get you a scholarship. I was like, I really don't want to do this. But I was doing other things. I played basketball and in between, and, I was always somewhat athletic. And then I realized that I was going to be too short to play anything that mattered. So I was like, I got to learn how to work. And the athletics kind of took I would say a back burner for me. But my brother was always in it. And then when I went to college, I did intramurals and I had fun, but it all collided when the finance guys so I was in finance at Oregon State University, and there were only about 20 of us in that whole class. At the time, finance was not a very popular major. And at that university, you had to get accepted to be in the program. And two of the guys in that course were football players. And so it kind of all came back because they were on the roster. I started working with them and helping them. And they were helping me through some things in life that were not so great on my end. sure enough, I found myself back in football, even though I wasn't playing it in the cul-de-sac anymore. I was, hanging out with the guys that were actually on scholarship, and put me to where I am today, which is wild to think about.
That's crazy. So you're in Boise now. Are you still in Boise? Okay. Now, did
Yep.
you grow up in Boise?
No, I grew up in Portland, Oregon. So I'm an
Okay.
Oregon girl. Left Oregon, oh gosh, like 2.5, 3 years ago, bought myself a little homestead out here in Idaho because your girl's a country girl. She grew up on a nursery. Love me my farm. And it's where I escape after I'm on the road all the time. So I live in Boise, Idaho now. Right? It's great. It's best thing in the world is when I come home and I can just get in my garden, or I can get in my orchard, or I can just 10 minutes down the road is downtown Boise. So I can literally go get great food, and there's art and there's music and there's culture and there's people. So I get the best of both worlds in a small town. The only crappy part is that I have to connect to every airport because Boise is this small.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's back it up to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're all around the same generation. So my introduction to Oregon is the Oregon Trail and the farm. So I just want to know kind of like, how accurate is the game?
It looks just like that in real life still, just so you know. We got the dirt roads and everything. No, we do actually still have dirt roads and huge fields for days. Portland, Oregon, not so much. Portland is very much a big city. But yeah, Oregon Trail, I played that. I'm 37 years old. And so right? We're old millennials.
We're right in there. So I guess talk about the cul-de-sac games. I grew up in the cul-de-sac games, and I know what those were. I have a lot of scars to prove that I was an all-state cul-de-sac running back. So just talk about your time in the cul-de-sac and playing and growing up and competing in the neighborhood.
Oh man, because I was so little, and I am still so little, like I'm about 5'3" on a good day in heels. It was always fun because up until about 11, like I could hang with the guys, right? After that, it was over. But I was pretty quick, and my brother was pretty quick. So I played wide receiver, which really wasn't a position at the point. I was just told to catch the ball and run to the end of the cul-de-sac. And we had cul-de-sac dads. So we had like 5 different dads that would come out and play quarterback for us. So none of us ever played quarterback. It was always the dads. And then we were able to block and kind of push. And my brother definitely beat me up a few times, and I definitely got him good a couple times. And then all the neighbor kids, and I can still remember all their names, which is crazy. We would always go down there every weekend. And we're old when the street lights come on, and if your ass is not at home in 5 minutes, oh, you ain't going out tomorrow. So we would hear my dad whistle from down the street, and we were probably 25 houses down and into the cul-de-sac. It's a really long road, and I'd hear him whistle, and my brother and I'd be like, where the bike's at, we gotta go. And so that was kind of like how we grew up, was that or basketball. It depended on whose dad was there or wasn't there as to what sport we were playing.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was our cul-de-sac games, and they went on for at least a decade. And then when I got into high school, I'm like, yeah, I'm too cool for this, and also I'm getting my butt kicked, so I'm out.
The discipline of dance and how it relates to what you do now professionally. What did you grab from the disciplines of dance that helps you in your everyday life now?
Yeah, that was quite an experience because I was doing it 5-6 days a week as a 7-8-year-old. Like my mom really had me in it. And so I was learning how my body works and how it moves and how to control certain muscle groups, which I think is really fascinating because I definitely took that as I was building my financial programs. And also every sport teaches muscle memory in different ways, right? There's certain things that you have to do with your body in order to achieve a certain movement or a certain play, whatever. So dance actually taught me a lot about that. It also gave me a lot of awareness about how my body moves and what I need to do to improve it. And then how to keep it functioning at the highest level. So it is exactly like any other sport. The difference is that it's incredibly brutal on your joints. And when you're that little, it completely shapes the way that your body actually grows. So I was and I still am very, very short, but I have incredibly long legs and a very short torso. And a lot of that has to do with dancing. But a lot of the things I learned from dance, I translated when I built my 12-week financial fitness program that I use with athletes, because it's all around the routine and the discipline of doing the habits that build on each other every day. So just as in football or basketball or soccer or baseball, you aren't a perfect pitcher right out the gates. You can't hit the ball perfectly. You don't make 3-point shots every single time. There's practice, there's routine, there's discipline. And so I just took everything that I had learned in all of the facets of my life. And I said, well, why doesn't anybody just create a workout program for your money that takes you through all the steps that you learn in sports? And I tried to find one and I couldn't. And so I built one, and here we are now. And I use all of those same fundamentals you learn in sports to help you with your money.
Love it. Awesome. So you're the older sister, right? You're big sis, right?
Oh, I'm big sis. I'm big sis to 500 NFL players.
And that's what I was about to say, right? That's full circle, right? Like all the NFL players call you big sis, or call you sis, when they see you, just, part of that rapport and just part of being a part of a team, right? That's what some people miss. That's one part of sports. And by the way, I was in a tap and jazz dance. That's where.
Let's go.
Whoa, wait, hold on. We gotta.
No, this is not about
Coach,
me.
it's been. Hold on. We got to disagree over that, Coach. It's been 5 years, and this is the first time I didn't figure out he's Gregory Hines over here.
You just needed Coach Hill to bring it out. That's all you needed. You just needed me here for this.
Crazy.
This was the moment.
Wow.
So that's why that footwork is so superb. But anyway, so with the kind of being, big sis, and you said you guys played, how long did y'all stay competitive? Was it at everything? Because you have football, you said basketball, depending on the dads, and then you guys went to the same university together. Like, how long did that competition stay with you and your brother? Are you still competitive today?
Oh, we still compete. I
love it.
The hard part is, and this was the worst part about growing up with my brother, is he's smarter than everybody I've ever met. And so this boy, I kid you not, would get kicked out of class for talking the whole time the teacher was. And then the teacher would say, well, tell me what I said. And he would parrot back word for word everything they said for the last 5 minutes. They kicked his ass out of class. So when we got to college, I was like, there's no way this guy's going to get away with this. Like, I'm going to compete. Nah. My brother got 2 degrees in 4 years while working at a financial advisor firm, getting his licenses. And at 22 years old, he was running his own firm. And I was like, you know what? I quit life. I'm not competing with this kid anymore. But all jokes aside, he's one of my resources. He's somebody I bounce ideas off of. I collaborate with him all the time. He's the most well-read person I've met, and he knows so much about economic markets, and he understands how things work when policies get passed. So I'll go to him and be like, well, tell me top down how this is actually going to affect. And he's able to break it down simply and let me know, because I don't deal in financial markets all day. I deal with personal finance, banking, insurance, all that kind of stuff. He's really high level investments. So we talk through a lot of that stuff. And I can't tell you, he's only 35 years old. To have someone as intelligent as him, who's going to be in my corner for the next, hopefully 50 plus years, I'm very blessed. I would love to say that I'm going to beat my brother in life. There's not a chance. Not a chance.
Hey, let's say, why beat him when you can join him, right?
Collaboration, baby.
Collaboration all day, MH.
And shout out to little bro. I mean, this country could use educational policies for sure.
He's great, man.
Yeah, no, shout out to little bro. So why Oregon State? Beavers, right?
Yeah. I know everybody's like ducks. No, hell no.
Yeah.
We don't like them over here.
Why
like
Oregon
us?
State?
Oregon State was, I'm actually 4th generation Oregon State. So my family my family came over on the Oregon Trail. Talk about the Oregon Trail game. My family came over on the Oregon Trail. So like my Lebanese mother, German Lebanese mother. Yeah. She came over on the Oregon Trail. And then, my family went to Oregon State. It's an agricultural school. My family was actually farmers. So when I say like, I'm a country girl and I'm a farmer, I grew up on a massive thousands of acres of tree farms. And that was what my grandpa and his family members built. And so, it's generational wealth, right? Well, we sold it by the time I was 14. So that was that. Good for my grandpa. He retired. It was family. It was everything family. And honestly, it's funny how family translates to not your blood all the time. When I went to Oregon State, I didn't care about sports. Like, I cared about sports. I wanted us to win, but I knew when I went there, I was like, I need to get in and get out in 4 years. There wasn't It wasn't me looking at it like, okay, this is going to be the time of my life. My mom got really sick when I was in college, and I was literally just trying to figure out how to live, pay my bills, and then get home to help my family because she was in the hospital all the time. And those Oregon State football players I told you about literally saved my life. They're the reason I do what I do, because they were struggling with like, what do I do with my $1,200 scholarship check? And in 2006, you guys, a $1,200 scholarship check was big money because your rent was like $300. Your utilities were like $50. They're like sitting on $900 a month. They're like, what do I do with it? So I was helping them. And two of those guys, one of them was drafted and one of them went undrafted in 2009. They knew what was going on with my mom, and they knew how hard it was on my family, and they loved my mom because my mom was a huge Oregon State football fan. I was not. She loved it. Had season tickets, all the things. And she met the guys because they happened to be at my house one night, whatever, because we all lived literally they were my next door neighbors. And they found out how sick she was, and they found out I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and eggs for every meal. And like twice a day is all I would eat. And so I came home from work one day after visiting my mom and my dad, going and seeing them. And my fridge was full, and it was full for 2.5 years after that. So they saved my life. And when they went into the NFL, I was like, there's no way that you're going to fail. I'm not going to let you fail. And my dad pitched in and helped like in any way he could to just kind of give them guidance. Cause my dad's 50 years in commercial finance at this point. Like we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of deals. This man's done it all. He's like, okay, guys, this is how you're going to do credit. And then we were teaching them all those things, right? I'm learning as I went, and they were learning as they went, but they never failed. And that's when I was like, oh man, like there's something here. I love these guys. They're my family. They saved my life. Now it's my turn to pay it forward. And so every time I walk into a training facility, every time I meet a new batch of rookies, I literally see my friends. I'm like, I'm not going to let you fail. If there's anything in me, I'm not going to let you fail. And if you do fail, it's because you didn't listen and you made a choice. And I'm okay. I'm going to support that choice because I will try to help you after you fail. It's not going to be pretty, but I'll be there. Like at the end of the day, these guys, I'm with them for life now. They're kind of stuck with me, but I'm stuck with them. So, that's why I do what I do. It's family.
Man, that's unreal. That's amazing. And that was definitely one of the questions, just, because a lot of times we forget that, like, you go off to college and everybody's set of terms or what they're going through at college is not the same, right? Like, so it's great that you did have a little fun, but, you had to grow up and, you had your mom and just a great family that was going through something. And not only you, but your brother, right? Going back and forth, supporting them and being with them. And, sometimes we go through those things and, it's hard to see it at that time. So someone who's also lost their mother and father, I definitely know that it's not something that someone understands fully until they go through it. So, so definitely love and heart goes out to you for just being that and knowing, because when I first met you, I didn't know that, right? So it's just like, here's this rock star, and you never know the adversity that someone faces. So give me your flowers also continuously and always, happy. But let's move on. Like, so you kind of introed it a few times. So we're going to jump into what we like to call in the game. We never like to cut all of the things that you built to come to where you are, but we do want to talk about where you are and what you're doing, with your company, the Financial Footwork. But if there's any things that, built on the stories that you want to elaborate on, bring in, definitely do that. But so we got how you started, right? But give us the actual how you started your business, because I think that's one thing that a lot of people have great ideas, or they were working for someone else, and it was like, how do I start? So what was kind of take us through what it was like for you?
Yeah. So kind of building the boardroom for me was I had the idea in college, obviously stemming from everything I was going through. And then I started working in banking. So I was working for a major bank at the time. I was 22 years old, learning the ropes of all banking. And while I was doing that, I was really bored with the job, 40 hours a week. So I was actually providing nonprofit services to different financial literacy companies that go in and teach people about money. And so I actually started working with Project Clean Slate, Portland, Oregon, where I'm from. And it helps people that are leaving prison transition back into civilian life. And so what I was doing was I was helping those men and women come out of prison, and I was teaching them how our financial system works and how to use it to their advantage. And as I was doing that, I was like, man, if I'm building these programs for these companies and they're using them, I want to transition that to the guys that saved my life. Like, I'm still helping my NFL players, but like, how do I do that on a larger scale? So I took a step back. I got a lot of experience. I spent Up until last year, I was still in banking. I was still working for a bank. I was on the mortgage side, so I was 100% commission. I was running my own business on the mortgage side, but I was still in it. Up until that point, though, I was working for a conglomerate, and I was banking everything that I had. And I said, I'm going to bootstrap this bitch from the ground up. And that's exactly what I did. I took every ounce of extra money that I had and I threw it at my idea. I built my brand. I built out my curriculum. I worked on the service level of it. Like, I knew that anyone can write a book. Can you write a book that matters? Anybody can say they do something. Do they have the proof behind it? So I went and got 5,000 speaking hours. I went and made sure that I was building programs that actually made a difference. And then I was collaborating with the people on the inside at the NFL teams, which they're my favorite people on the planet. The directors of player engagement, my favorite. We collaborate all the time. So if anyone ever asks me, like, how'd you get to where you are? Without them, I wouldn't be. And it never stops. Like, my company will never hit this, like, I've made it moment, because there's always work to do. So how I got started was I bootstrapped it with my own money while working a 60-hour-a-week job. And I did that for a very long time. So there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And anyone, like, my best friend lived with me for 7 years, and his son, and they lived in my house in Happy Valley, Oregon. And he always said, he goes, I would wake up and you'd be in your office working, and I would go to bed and you would be in your office working. He's like, I've never met anybody who hustles as hard as you do. I said, yeah. He said, but social media don't show that. I said, no, social media is your highlight reel, homie. All it shows is the good stuff. It doesn't show the hard work. It doesn't show the discipline. And so he was my supporter in that. He really helped me. So did my brother and my father after my mom passed. And they told me I could do it. Everyone else told me I couldn't do it. Oh, you'll never get into the NFL. You'll never make it. Like, you're a female. You're too young. Your face is too cute. No one's going to hire you. No one's going to take you seriously. I've heard literally everything. And I went, fuck you guys. I'm going to go do it. And I did. And that's exactly what I did. And so, but there were people along the way.
And two things on that. One, I love the fact that you said that, right? Because a lot of people think, like, oh, I have to quit my job and bet it all on this, right? Like, so that's great that you shared that, right? Because you could, if you want it, there's going to be some work in it. So I'm glad you showed that sacrifice. And then two, the fuck you, right? Like, no, I'm going to go get this, right? So being a woman, did you want to touch on, like, how that was, and, like, how, you know, like you said, being a woman in a male locker room, you know, talking about something that's this important, you know, how much objection did you face with that?
You'd be surprised. I didn't. This is where everyone doesn't believe it. When Caleb Thornhill, the guy I told you about, who to this day is one of my biggest supporters, and I am literally his biggest supporter. Whatever he needs, I'm there for it. He left the Miami Dolphins in last year, and he now does the same thing, but he's with the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm now blessed to be working with the San Antonio Spurs and that organization. But Caleb didn't know. This is crazy. When he called me, it was a referral from a former player of his, somebody that I knew who went to University of Oregon, said, you got to call this chick. She's what you're looking for. I never did a Zoom call. This was really before Zoom calls were a thing. And I didn't meet Caleb until I walked into the building that day. I didn't know who I was looking for. I didn't Google him. He didn't Google me. Like, we were referred to each other, and I walked in, I met him. I was like, dude, you're my age. He's like, I thought you were 50. I was like, sweet. Like, glad that my phone voice sounds 50, bro. Like, what the hell? But with the collaboration that we have with all my teams and all my directors, like, each of those guys that I work with, and gals, like Erica in Chicago, she's the shit. Casey in LA, she's amazing. They run the off the field stuff. And I have never come up against a problem that has been like, oh, you're a woman in sports. Not a once. And when I'm working with the guys, I think it plays to my advantage that I'm female, because I'm not some old head coming in and telling them what to do with their money. I'm basically a big sister who will tell them if they're buying something stupid, but I'm not going to tell them no. I'm just going to say, think it through. Here's your opportunity cost. And I get to work with them repeatedly throughout a season. So these young guys, I get to know them as people. I really don't know what position a lot of them even play, to be honest with you. I actually have to look at a roster if I go to a game and, like, figure out who's who. I know them by their first names, not their last names. And so they're people to me. And I'm a person to them. I'm just a resource within the team. So I'm part of that family, which makes all of this so much simpler. But if I wasn't given the opportunity, EJ, like, you know, you were in Vegas with us, like, those guys, they're like my brothers. Like, they come up, they're like, okay, I have questions. If the teams wouldn't give me the opportunity to build the relationships, we would never be where we are today. So this is absolutely a collaborative thing.
Love it.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned, kind of before we started the show about the mindset of the athlete, and you know how routine athletes are, in particular those that are professionals. They have to be probably super routine and
Yes.
discipline oriented on things. So, how does that play into, I guess, the discipline with finances, so to speak? What's the trends that you see there?
The hard part about being a professional athlete at any level, at any sport, and Mitch, you're right on this. Like the routine is there. They know how to do it. The problem that we face is they've never been introduced to the concept of finance in a way that's built a routine around it. They've always been introduced to it as don't spend money, or don't get a credit card, or don't buy a house, or don't spend your money on stupid shit. Nobody's ever actually sat them down and said, okay, let's play chess, not checkers. And let's be strategic. Let's find ways for you to do the things you want to do and still build what you have an opportunity to build, which is generational wealth. And for a lot of the families of these men, they've never had that opportunity. So they don't know how to do it either. And so that, I think, is routine isn't so much their problem as it is just not having the information. And so when the information is provided and they're given a blueprint, like here's your playbook, here's how you make every play, what you choose to do with that play is on you, but here's your playbook, they're able to make really good, sound decisions. And I can't speak for the locker rooms I don't work with, but I can speak for my locker rooms. I've seen, and I think my directors will completely attest to this, we have seen so much improvement year to year to year. And we've seen far less bankruptcies. We've seen guys coming out of the league with really good credit scores, with real estate portfolios, with strong investment portfolios. They learned how to play the game. They haven't been taught how to play the game until now. So at 22, you hand them $1 million and then you don't give them a playbook on how to play, they're going to blow it. That's where I'm coming. Like I get them right before they sign that dang signing bonus check thing and buy 120 grand in chains, which has happened.
So when they get that money, right, that's generational money, right? That's a lot of players have never seen that type of money, or their families seen that type of money. What's kind of like, we always talk about training like an athlete. What's like your steps to kind of like simplify, right? Because like that's our whole thing with your offense or defense. We have the schemes, right? Like, so what's that scheme that you kind of sit down with them to get them started?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because my slogan is actually train your money like a pro athlete trains for success. So we're training our money. There's 4 principles to it. The first one is simply setting a plan for you, which is sitting down and telling yourself what you actually want to do with money, not what everyone around you wants you to do, but what do you want to do? And a lot of these guys can't answer that question at 22. You can't, most people don't know. If they were handed $1 million or $2 million or a $10 million signing bonus, they'd be like, it's so scary. And you're in such an emotional and physical moment at that point when you get that money that you're so excited, you're nervous, you're scared. You have so many emotions going through you. You make bad decisions when you're emotional. So I always tell guys, sit on it for a minute. What's your rush? Sit on it. Just sit on it. Start thinking about what you want, not what everyone around you wants, and then start writing it down. Then we're going to get you a really good coach who's going to help you understand how your money works. Now, that could be someone like an agent, a financial advisor, a CPA. That could be a really good mentor. It doesn't have to be someone who's actually handling your money, just someone that can be a really good sounding board. And then we start practicing. And practice is our routine of budgeting, credit score management, leveraging our credit cards to pay for our bills so that we get the rewards, so that we have another stream of income off of our rewards, understanding how investments work, building your financial team. Our practice portion is the biggest part. That's step 3. And then step 4 is fueling it every single day. So just like you fuel your nutrition, you fuel your finances. If you're not adding the right stuff to it and you're taking away from it, you're going to kill your, we call it killing your chicken.
Shout out Marshawn.
Right? I love it. Marshawn's chicken. Like you got a chicken, right? You start cutting off her legs, she ain't going to give you no more eggs. If you don't have any more eggs, you have nothing to live off of. And so their pot, in essence, and this is where we all joke, but really their pot of money can either set them up for success if they keep fueling it. But if they start taking away from it and they eat the Big Mac and they go to get the Whopper and then they start eating too much fried chicken, guess what? You're not fueling that. You're actually taking away from it. And the moment that you do that, you lose that nutritional value. Everything devalues. Now you don't have as much left to work with. Doesn't mean you're broke, but it definitely doesn't mean that you're going to be that guy who's got a yacht and a plane by the time you're 40. So it's setting expectations, but it's also just fundamentals. And so those are our 4 steps. Within each of those 4 steps, we work on them all throughout the season. And then when they hit second year, we elevate. We go to new curriculum that's a whole lot more deep than just learn how to budget, make sure your insurance is solid. Here's how you build a financial team. This is how credit works. Now we're getting into real estate investments, building a business, understanding your brand. We get to do the really fun stuff.
I love it. So one of the biggest things that I wanted to kind of focus on, right, because been around athletes, all of that good stuff, the trust factor, right? How do you go about building that team? Because everybody wants something from them, and not everybody has the great nature, right? So one, how get them to get comfortable of flexing that no muscle in a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
They got to learn that. And then the part two is like, how do they find the resources? Because it's great that you said, because when I was thinking like, who's my financial team? I'm thinking like, oh, who's my tax consultant? Who's my CPA? Who is my insurance broker? But you're right. It doesn't have to be them. So how do you kind of guide people so they are empowered to find the right people? So I guess those are a two-part question. My bad.
So how do I help them build trust? And then how do I help them find the right people?
Well, the no muscle, right?
Yeah. So the no muscles, honestly, it's a simple concept, very hard in practicality. It's connecting to your core value and your intent with your money. If you know what you need to do with your money, it's very easy to say no. If you know that I have a family, or I want to have a family, or I want to build a business, or I know that I want a house in Malibu, California, and I need X amount of dollars to get there. If you know the goal and you're focused on the goal, it's very easy to say, hey, man, it's not in my financial plan right now. Sorry, no. Even when it's, man, you're my brother. I just need $1,000. Give me it's fine. I always say, it's your money. You can choose whatever you want to do with it. But if you know you are going to give it away to somebody and you're never going to see an ROI on that, and they're going to keep coming back and asking you for more, is that good for your financial health? And also, when the money stops with the NFL, because we all know it's not for long, what happens when the money stops? You don't have it anymore, and now you can't protect yourself financially. How are you going to protect everyone around you? So it's allowing them to connect to what their purpose and value is, and then finding ways to be able to say, man, sorry, that's not going to work for me because of XYZ. I even have guys that will do a budget and they will hand it to their parents and be like, you do your budget. Let me see your budget and I'll tell you how I can help you. 90% of the time that kills the request, but it really does kill the request. They're like, well, no, I just want the money. He's like, no, let me help you. Like, I know how to do this now. Let me help you. And sometimes the guilt factor plays a part, which we all have. Like, I want to take care of my dad. We all want to take care of our family, our children, the people in our lives. But there has to be a limit to that. And there has to be an intent behind what you're doing. So allowing them to connect to that value, that builds trust with me, teaching them how to do that. But it also allows them to build trust with the people around them, because they start to see people's values and what they're trying to get out of them versus maybe providing a service. Instead of, if a financial advisor finds you and says, I'm going to find you the next big Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, these guys now know to run. They're like, no, that's not for me. That's not what I need. So allowing them to connect, that's one, to their value proposition. And then building a financial team and establishing trust, that is a long game. That is not done overnight. That is something where they have to sit down and they have to know what they want out of their financial team, whether that's consistent communication. It could be a certain dollar figure for that person to work with them. It could be something as simple as that person lives in their hometown, right? What do they need out of their financial team? And then they have to go interview these people. Then we background check them always, because we always do that. That is for me, that is like my heart stop. I'm like, if you haven't background checked this person, we need to roll it back. And then once they've done that and they've dated this person, and I call it dating because what do you do when you date? You ask a lot of questions and you get nosy and you get to know the person. And when you're hiring someone to handle your money, you better know them just as good as your girlfriend. You have to know how they operate. You have to know how they move, and you have to be okay with how they move. And then you have to see the results that they are or are not giving you and be able to say, you're not helping me. I'm going to fire you. Or you are great. I'm actually going to give you more in my pot. Let's see what we can do with it. So it's, again, that could be a 10-year process. It's not something you do overnight. So when I teach these guys these concepts, it's all about them connecting to what they need. And I mean, I was just at a team 2 days ago, and we had the building a financial team conversation, and every guy in the room gave me a different answer when I asked how they wanted their working relationship to be with an advisor. I had one guy tell me, I want him to just do his job. I don't want him to be my friend. I want the numbers and that's it. I had one guy say, I need him to be my homie. We need to go golfing. I was like, great. Right? Now, mind you, that's how he gets to know people, because I know this player really well. And how he gets to know people is he watches how they move. So he needs to spend time with them. And so I'm like, interesting. Okay. So we're starting to get ideas on how things should work. And that's really where we start, but it's never a fast process.
Okay.
Do you see?
Ooh,
I work
sorry.
in the, I guess, kind of like the grassroots side of sports a lot, and so I think a lot of times for those that are professional athletes that are making to the top level, like an NFL or NBA, those are like known commodities since they were like probably 10, right? They're gonna move them to
Yes,
the
they
best
are.
AAU team. They're gonna be on the best high schools. They're gonna go to the best universities. They're gonna be around people that's handing them something or giving them something or putting them around money, so to speak.
Yep.
Do you find that guys are coming in a little bit more aware of all those things and around them? Are they coming in with teams already and they're kind of
Yeah.
looking to you for how's that changed from the time when we were in college to how it is now? I'm not trying to age anybody. I'm just
No, you're good.
it's totally
You're
different.
good. Sorry, I'm coughing. I would say it's about 50-50. It used to be guys would come in and no one had a financial team. And now with NIL, the game has completely changed. Guys are coming in with money. I wouldn't say they're coming in educated, which is really difficult for me as a financial coach, because now as they come in as pros, I'm actually having to clean up messes we didn't used to have to clean up. Case in point, I've got guys with 6-figure IRS debt because they didn't file taxes when they were in college, because they didn't know they had to. They had no idea how any of it worked. And so they tried to do the right things, and their parents, again, tried to help them, but you don't know what you don't know. And so NIL has completely changed things. So they are coming in with money, and they have an idea of how money moves now. They understand how bank accounts work, how investment accounts work, how they can transfer things, digital currency. They get it. They still don't understand credit, which is a massive part of their financial picture. And they don't understand how money is taxed or how the financial system actually works as a whole. And that's where they get in trouble. And so NIL it's great. I love that they're getting paid. Like, if you can make $1 million on NIL, your parents probably can't see $1 million in 15 years, and you're doing it in 4 years of college. Amazing. Like, let's take that and run with it. But if we're getting that opportunity and we don't know how to handle it, and then we lose it all, or we don't know how to file the taxes, it's not doing you any good. You're going to have to hit restart when you're 25. And so that, honestly, Mitch, is my biggest struggle. I am beyond blessed to be the financial coach for LSU athletics. I get to work with every single one of their athletic teams. I see them 4 times a year. I'm in Baton Rouge for 4 days giving 17 presentations. It's wild, but they're really getting to where they need to be. And the guys coming out of LSU that I see in the league, they're the few that I actually see that are really, truly prepared.
Well, I was going to talk about
Yeah.
that, right? Because LSU, I mean, what was it, the money game?
Money game.
The money game flick that they have out right now, and I hope they continue to do that series with different schools. But it made sense for LSU to be the first, and what Taylor Jacobs is doing, like, they got to share her story down there, how like she
is amazing, isn't she?
Hey, she's got, and what she's doing is she's doing that part of educating them, right? Because it's all a new world for everybody. Everybody's learning as they go. But I mean, what she and having you, bringing you in, right? Like, that just shows the things that she's doing for LSU, and it seems like those kids are, and not just the football, right? The track, like everybody is doing that. But with them getting that money right now, is there any, like, what is your main core message to them, or even the kids, like in something, like I think Florida is one of them, where they're starting to allow them to do NIL deals in high school. So what is that one thing that you're really focusing on? Is it paying the taxes? Is it like, because we talked about 22, not what you want to do. Well, what the hell are you going to do in the, you're a high schooler. So what's that thing that you attempt to kind of protect the babies, as some of the people like to say?
Golly, it's high school it kills me that that's actually a thing. Not because I don't want them to earn money. I think it's great, but you're really not setting them up for success if you're not educating them. I think my core point with anyone that I work with, if I only get one thing to tell you, it's going to be, for what every penny that you get paid, save half of it. If that's all you can do, for every $1 you make, save 50 cents. For every $10 you make, save $5. Put that money aside, because life will happen. It's going to, I guarantee you, life will happen. I've had it happen to me several times. I've had it happen to everyone I've worked with. And when life does happen and you are making that kind of money, if you have 50% of it set aside, you can pay things like taxes. You can deal with emergencies as they come up. You can deal with somebody getting sick, like what I experienced with my mom. Now, that's a level that is like ridiculous in terms of how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent on medical, which you can never prepare for. But at least having those rainy day funds is so crucial. So I would say save half. If that's the only lesson that you can learn, for every dollar you get, save half.
So when the math is not mathing. So what do we do when the math is not mathing, right? And it can be in so many things, right? It's like the numbers that you thought you were going to get, right? And like even the rookies, I'm surprised. You hear a lot of athletes talk about like, man, you know, I signed this, you know.
And I got this.
And I got this much money. And it's like, nope, you can forget Uncle Sam always got to get his part, you know.
Yep.
So how do you prepare them when the math ain't mathing? And even, I mean, from aspect when you have the friend coming to them like, yo, invest in this with me or do this. Like, what do you do? Or how do you prepare them when the math ain't mathing?
So for NIL, it's a little different than NFL. And here's why. And a lot of people don't realize this. NFL players are not self-employed. They are employees of the NFL club that they play for. So they actually have all their taxes withheld through the organization itself. So that's why they say, man, I signed a $2 million contract and I only saw like 900,000 of it. Team withheld your taxes. Here's where NIL, both in high school and college, is a massive problem. They're not employees. So the math, the reason it's not mathing is because they'll get $1,000 to post on IG and then they spend all $1,000.
Jeez.
And what happens is they owe the government the 20 to 30% for taxes. And depending on what state they live in, like California, you better save 40%. Because you're going to owe state tax in California, which is brutal. Now, if you're out in Nevada, 0%. We love us some Nevada. We love us some Nevada. But my point is, when you're dealing with an organization like the NFL or the MLB, they are not brands. These players are brands, but they are not brands when it comes to their employment agreement. Their NFL contract is an employment agreement. So they're W-2'd. Taxes are taken out. They got a 401k. They got all the things. When you're an NIL athlete and you sign $1 million deal, you have to pay your agent. There's 15 to 20% off the top. Then you have to pay taxes, and your taxes are on the total number you earned. So if you're not setting that aside and you spend $900,000 of that money, you're going to be hit with a $200,000, $300,000 tax bill at the end of the season or the end of the year, really the calendar year. And that's where people get a little bit lost, because most parents, what are most parents? W-2 employees. The money is taken out for taxes. They have never had to run a business before. They've never had to look at a profit and loss statement. They've never had to look at a balance sheet. They've never had to do any of that. And now you're asking them to learn a new skill without providing any education. And their kids are trying to figure it out as they go as well. Now we've got a group of people that are making money, but they don't know how the system works, and the math doesn't math.
Jeez.
So it's my job to explain for NIL, like, what it really looks like and how you should be. I call it money mapping. Like, where do you map your money? 30% goes to checking, 20% goes to your agent, the other 50% goes to your savings. And then you map to those actual bank accounts. And it's easy when you do it and you're holding fake money in your hand and you're like, oh yeah, no, this actually makes sense. But you got to teach it.
Absolutely.
And nobody's teaching it.
So then along with that, right, like, because different households and families have different, and kind of along with the tool of money mapping, right? Like, I love that idea. What do you say, or what's your kind of industry standard as far as rainy day fund, right? Like, you know, some people say 3 months, 6 months, you know, is that part of your training? And what's the number that you tell people to kind of save?
For NIL athletes, depending on how much they're making, 6 months minimum. And the reason for that is because this money is not going to come forever. And if you're getting a lot of it, you need 6 to 12 months. NFL athletes, 6 to 12. Because here's the thing. When you're a college student, what are your expenses?
Not if you're a college student, not right, nothing.
So if your expenses are $1,000 a month, I'd like to see $6,000 to $12,000 in a bank account. I'm not asking for the world. Like, you can still spend, but let's just, you know, let's cover our ass if we don't get any money next season, or we graduate college and the money doesn't come in as fast as it's been coming in with NIL, because that's the fastest money you're going to see in life for most of these athletes. At the pro level, some of the guys are coming in with NIL deals that are bigger than NFL contracts. So some of the fastest money these guys are going to see is between 18 to 25.
That's crazy.
That's mind blowing.
That's crazy.
So get your rock. Your rock is your emergency fund. That rock needs to be for an NFL player at minimum a year's worth of expenses. And I'm not saying $20,000 a month. I'm saying, what does it cost you to truly live? No extras, no like, I'm going to go and blow the bank. What does it cost you to live? What's your housing, your transportation, your food, and your necessities? What does that cost? That needs to be in an account. That's your rock. So that when shit does hit the fan, because 100% of pro athletes retire, they do.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Right.
And that's how we talk about it. But again, it's them making the standard. I don't set that standard for them. You tell me what it costs you to live. We'll back into the numbers together. I'll show you the math. Now, how are you going to get there? Like, what's the goal? How are we going to get there? And my job is not to tell them what to do. It's to simply give them a pathway, or even 2 or 3 ways to do something, so that they can pick one that works for them and that they actually want to do it, right? Because that's the hard part. I can't force a guy to do anything, but if he sees value in it, he's going to do it.
Absolutely. All right, so this is a fun part of the show. MH, ready for those quick hits?
Yeah, my bad. Let me pull them up. Yes, I am. So, Coach, just a couple of some questions for our viewers to get to know you better. Text or call?
Ooh, I'm a texter. Yeah.
Okay. Pancakes or waffle?
Waffles all day.
Good choice. Apple or Android?
Apple. Come on now.
We need to change that question.
Do we? I think, yeah, I think the survey has been overwhelmingly one way. Early bird, yeah, correct. Early bird gets the worm or late night grind?
Ooh, I'm an early bird gets the worm kind of girl.
Okay.
Routine, up early. Let's go.
Breakfast food, dinner food?
Ooh, dinner food.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Kevin Hart or Cat Williams?
Oh, Cat Williams all day. I mean, I love me some Kevin Hart. He had a great finance section, like my bank account, 3-day business transfer. He's on and something. That's my guy. But like Cat Williams, come on.
I would agree. Hero or villain?
Ooh, villain.
I agree. Play it safe and go into overtime, or are you going to risk it and win in regulation?
Risk it and win in regulation.
One track that never gets old.
Ooh, regulators.
Let's go.
That's funny.
It's literally the first thing that came to my head.
That's amazing. Love it.
We're in G, baby. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
You Rocky movies or you Creed movies?
Oh, can I say Michael P. Jordan? am I allowed to? This is my guy. Never met him, but like we would be homies in real life.
That'd be Creed movies.
Yeah, shout out to the Creed movies.
EJ is dying. He's like, and this is why she's not allowed on podcasts.
So now I'm interested in this because this is not even on my list, but I am interested in this.
Yeah,
you do NFL and NBA, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's been a debate about can NBA players play in NFL or could NFL players play in the NBA? Which one is the easiest? Where do you sit on this?
Okay. Probably gonna get a lot of shit for this. The finesse it takes to be a basketball player and the conditioning it takes to be a basketball player, wild.
Okay.
I think that basketball players would have an easier time playing specialty positions in the NFL than NFL players would transitioning into basketball, just for the finesse. Also, like how many guys can actually score that many 3 points with that tiny ass little ball and that tiny ass little hoop? Like, let's just be real. But I genuinely think a lot of them, because they're so athletic, could play anything that they want. But if we're just talking about transitioning, I think that NBA players have a better shot at being successful as wide receivers or cornerbacks, and maybe even kickers, who knows, within the NFL than I think those guys would transfer to playing basketball, just because of the finesse that it takes to shoot a hoop.
I've been with you for 49 minutes. From this, you're probably right about you're probably right about that. But I love the way you called it finesse. So for all my basketball heads out there, the key word in that was finesse.
And specialty
I mean, you guys,
positions.
can you imagine
She said specialty
Finesse.
positions.
I love it. Yes.
Finesse.
specialty
Yeah.
positions? Now, funny thing, guys, is I actually don't know that much about football. So I'm not going to lie to you. One of my players in Cleveland, Greg Newsom, bless his heart, he's literally my little brother. He just had a baby girl, and I got a little onesie. It's on my TikTok that literally says my auntie's cooler than my dad. Real talk. This is I'm standing on business, okay? But he made me sit down and watch film. And I was like, look, I'm sitting in the Browns cornerback room, and he puts the film up, and he goes, what's happening? I was like, 22 guys are running around. I know what's going on. He's like, you're going to learn football today. They made me watch film for an hour. I thought I was going to poke my eyes out. I was like, you know what? I said, I get it now. I got it. We're good. He's like, what happened? I was like, I have no idea. Can I please leave? This is the worst class ever. And sure enough, I did learn something, but like that was my introduction to football. And I know some of the positions. I know the wide receivers because my brother played it.
And you played it in the cul-de-sac.
That doesn't count. You can't qualify me as a wide receiver, not even close. But yeah,
But
no,
no.
I don't know all that much about football. I'm still learning. Like I get the
There you
gist of
go.
the game, but if you were to ask me what position guys play, I'd be like, I don't know.
That's it, MH.
That's it, brother.
Awesome. So no, that I love the way you did it eloquently. So all of your clients and people should not be offended. I do think there's like nuances of the game that people just outright don't count because basketball is a pickup game while you can go to your local rec or park and play it. And as far as who could transition like that debate will probably go on for some time.
Oh,
All right.
it's like Jordan versus LeBron, right? I've heard
Well,
that
no,
one
we
in
know.
every locker room.
Well, we know who the GOAT is, but we're not going to
We already know the answer to that one.
Yeah.
I know the answer too. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all good.
LeBron. So we move on.
You really did that, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to.
Android.
Because I take the flack for the Android stuff all the
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? But anyway, let your dots forever be green. So let's jump into the winner's circle. This is where we just have a little fun, just kind of talk about what you got going on, and just continue to support you. And I think my first question I want to start off with is like, how can the layperson with you? And I don't want our audience to think that like, hey, it's so dope that you do work with these athletes and these pro and these top NIL people. But is there something for the common folk like us?
Oh yeah. So it's I have 2 books, and both of them are being republished right now that are my 12-week workout program. Anyone can use it. Anyone can use this 12-week financial fitness program. It walks you through start to finish the fundamentals of building an actually strong financial foundation, start to finish, all the tools you need. It will be up on my website in about 2 months, I think right at the beginning of January when we hit the new year. Anyone can get it. It's literally just a little 6x9 book, and it takes you through all the financial exercises you need. That's pretty cool. Anyone can use it. My players use it, but so do my manufacturing engineers at corporations I work with, or somebody like we work with lawyers and their law firms and their legal assistants who are just out of college use it. And then we also have a college edition. So if you're in college and you really want to learn about money, we have a smaller, more condensed book specifically for college students that's really targeted towards you. And then later next year, probably Q2, so March, April, May, somewhere in there, I'm publishing my first real book because my players asked me to write one and write my story.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I haven't actually told anybody. You guys are the first ones I've told that I'm writing this thing.
Let's go. Well, no, we're definitely here to support and looking forward to that. So we hope to get our signed copy once it's ready. That's so dope. And so other than like your players and like really what was some of the motivation behind kind of finally doing like this book?
It was time I actually put like why I think about money the way I do on paper, because I don't think about money the way that a lot of the financial educators out there do. I came from a very comfortable family and then we lost everything. So I went the reverse of what most people do. And I don't have a fear of money, even with the loss. And I think a lot of people are afraid of money. They're so afraid of the unknown with it. And so my approach has always been take those lessons and let other people learn from them so they don't make my mistakes. And that's why I wanted to write the book. Was I've made a lot of mistakes financially, even as a coach. I've gone through a lot of life. I've seen more zeros leave a bank account than you'd ever want to see just because of medical debt for my mom. So I'm sharing those stories and what that actually looked like, and then showing people how you can overcome it and how we did overcome it as a family and what we did And then how I approach different scenarios. I'm using player stories in these books because they wanted some of their stories told. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's my way of giving back and hopefully helping someone. If one person wins by reading my book, like that's a success for me.
That's definitely a win. And then what's your thought and why don't we get taught financial literacy in school? Like it seems like we are so getting misguided in this, like you even have it to where schools teach trades and they teach. So why is it such a miss for us not to teach financial literacy or just have any kind of education around money in schools?
Yeah, what's crazy is they even are getting rid of trades, which I think are the most important things we have right now, because we're going to be short HVAC workers, plumbers, and electricians by 2030. I mean, such a shortage that the demand for those jobs is going to skyrocket and people are going to pay an arm and a leg for it. But I think we've gotten away from trades and music programs and things like that because our funding has changed for those things. There are less programs available because there are more students and less ability to help those students. But I also think it hasn't really been a push until about 5-6 years ago that we should have financial literacy in school. And it's like, well, yeah, we should have had that. But the curriculum for schools was never built around it. And teachers were never taught it. So we really don't have anyone who can actually teach it. So the people that are coming in with these programs, like Jedediah Collins, his program, Your Money Vehicle, brilliant. He's in high schools all over the country right now. And he's a former NFL player. Super great guy. His program is going into all these schools and teaching financial literacy at the high school level. But he's having to teach the teachers how to teach it. Concept, right? We're having to now reteach teachers how to teach a core curriculum that should have been in schools. So I think we're behind the 8 ball. Lack of funding is a piece of it. Allocation of funds by each policy maker in every state, that's on them. Like, what are they going to do with it? How are we doing that? Every state's different. And then are the people that are supposed to be able to educate you educated enough to teach it? So I think those are our problems. Shortage of coaches in essence, and then funding. And there's a whole lot more to that, but
no, that's absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on that. And then, so we initially met at your Player Symposium.
Yeah.
Are you bringing anything like that back, or at least because I know it's a heavy lift to do that with everything that you have going on. But it was just really great to see, one, the partners that you brought in, and to hear your guys talk on that stage, because they knew something, right? It was when people first pick up something, right, or they find God, they want to kind of quote you the whole Bible backwards and forwards, but they were just so excited to be a part of something. Is that in the works, or in a thought, it's on the shelf, we're going to find the time to do it? It's just on the shelf.
I've been asked every year since Vegas, since 2021, if we're going to do another one, and guys are like, we're here for it, we want to go, we want to learn. That was a big lift, and it was during COVID, so we were able to really make some things work, which was cool. I think one of my partners and I are looking at, she also works for the NFL, does some stuff in digital security. I think we're looking at doing something in Dallas in the next year or two where we invite about 50 active players and 50 former players. So we'll get about 100 guys there to come in and join us for a couple of days. But we have to see what that looks like. And also, find the time. Not sure when we're going to do that, but we'll try to make it work.
Awesome.
Yeah, I see in the media space, and you talked about writing the book, and usually that in numbers always, don't coincide, at least the personalities. So it seems like you're super well-rounded in anything and everything. How do you balance that within yourself?
It's been a struggle. Balancing my work life and my personal life. For a while there, I didn't have separation of church and state. It was all work, which led me to where I am. But for anyone who's saying, oh man, she hustled so hard for so long and she found so much balance, I didn't for a while. There was a good amount of time there where I was so focused on what I was creating and the people I was helping, I did forget myself a little bit. I never stopped working out. I always kept my health. I work out religiously. I lift every day. I love it. But now that I'm 37 years old and working all the time, finding that personal time has become a priority for me. And so now I schedule my days accordingly. So my off day is not the normal American's off day. I'm literally on the road Saturday, Sunday, Monday usually. So during the week, I'll take, a day off and I'll recenter myself, whether that's reading something for myself, what personal book. Also, I do a lot of workout classes because I just really like them. And I have a gym in my garage. So I just walk out there and do that. I work in my yard constantly. I'm an absolute and total nerd and I cook a lot. And that's partially because I'm a single Pringle and that is just kind of how the world works. But it is hard to building this. One of the things that did get sacrificed was that personal life a little bit. I have zero regrets on that. I'm sure I will find my person. Right now, it's just a matter of like, I'm happy with me and I love where I'm at. And so I'm enjoying those moments when I do get that downtime to do things I love. And hockey's my sport. EJ knows this. I love hockey. It's what I watch. I don't actually watch any other sports. So it's hockey season, y'all. I'll be watching hockey. That's what I'm going to be doing. But there were moments, Mitch, where I definitely did not strike a balance and that wasn't very healthy. So now that I have gotten a little older, dealt with how to find that balance, I know what works for me and I know how my day should look. So I make it a priority to continue to let that happen. And I don't sacrifice the me stuff.
Awesome. All right. So we're wrapping it up here. All good things, they say, must come to an end. But this is one of our favorite parts of the show where we like to ask you to give the assist, right? This is where you give the coaching gem, maybe a quick quote, just words that you live by, maybe even something you would tell your younger self or our audience. So what is that quick quote or words to live by? Life is an occasion, rise to it. Damn, just as that simple. Just step your damn game up. Jeez, I love that. All right. Inmates, final thoughts.
No, just appreciate the time, Coach, and the education that you gave us on this short hour. And shout out to you for all the great things that you're doing and continued success your way. So really appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. This was so fun. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for being a trooper because you're always on a plane somewhere to support your guys. And, I love just following the IG, where you take off, could you please give us all your social and your website? We're going to put that in the show notes, but I want the audio listeners to hear it as well. So go ahead. Yeah. So it's at Financial Footwork on all of our platforms and it's financialfootwork.com. What EJ is alluding to is every time I fly to a different team, I take a photo when I take off and I take a photo when I leave so that my teams know where I'm at. Cause I usually get about 8 text messages a week asking where I'm going. So Instagram is how we track that. And if you ever have a question, you can reach out. My team is on all of our sites at all times. Fantastic. And you're fighting a little bit of a cold from, like I said, all that travel. So thank you for being a trooper. We really appreciate, you sharing the gems with our team because the money matters is a really large component, again, that financial literacy. So thank you for offering yourself to our listeners. And I hope listeners, you take that to reach out because she does make herself available. So once again, I want to thank our guest, Coach Hill, man. Thank you so much. Long overdue. Looking forward to catching up with you offline. And then all of our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the show. Please follow us on all of our handles. We drop a new show every Thursday. And as you know, we'd love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel because visual representation matters. If you see it, you can be it. And as we always say, you can listen on all of our podcast platforms. And as we sign off, we want to tell you, please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.